Welcome to Creative Living with Jamie. I'm your host, Jamie Ridler of Jamie Ridler Studios. On this program, I'll be talking to a wide range of creative independent spirits in order to bring you inspiration, stories, and strategies for bringing creativity to life. I hope you'll join me every week. Who knows, one day I might just be talking to you.
Hey everybody. Well, I have to say that lately it has just felt like such a magical time. I have to say I hope that it has felt like that for you too. I don't know, maybe it is the energy that is being stirred as I teach this Art of the Altar class. We're journeying through the four directions and connecting to earth and air and fire and water. And that, no doubt, is going to bring some magic to life. And maybe also it is something that is happening in the cosmos. Or maybe I'm just touching in on something that is ready to change and transform inside of me. Whatever it is, it led me to write this little something that I am going to share with you today. Magic is all around us. It lives on unexpected paths and in open invitations. It's tucked into the books on your shelves and plays among the plants in your garden. Magic is in the shoes that fit just right and the skirt that makes you dance. Magic is in that perfectly ripe strawberry. It adds the je ne sais quoi to a meal. It draws roots on the map in your glove compartment, and it dances on the whirling chain of your bike. It's in the wind that caresses your shoulders and the sun that kisses your cheeks. It's in the friendly face of a stranger and the freckles on your best friend's nose. It's in moody skies and your lover's eyes and the purr of a welcoming cat. Magic tickles our toes with a desire to adventure. It sings our hearts awake. It calls us out of our shell to shine. It inspires us to create. Magic is all around us, as common as house sparrows and cups of tea. It's in the spaces between these words. It lives between you and me. Let's open up to magic. Let's remember what we always knew. As a part of this magnificent world, we are magic too. So this week, my dear friend, remember your magic. And I promise I'll remember my magic too. Now today, my guest is going to talk to you about the magic of action and transformation. Let me introduce you to Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett is the author of Start Right Where You Are: How Little Changes Can Make a Big Difference for Overwhelmed Procrastinators, Frustrated Overachievers, and Recovering Perfectionists. Sam created the Organized Artist Company to help creative people get unstuck and achieve their goals. She's a writer, an actor, a teacher, and a creativity productivity specialist. She's counseled thousands of artists and entrepreneurs on their way to success. You can find Sam at theorganizedartistcompany.com and discover Start Where You Are at startwhereyouare.com. I hope you enjoy this time with Sam. Hey there, Sam. Welcome to Creative Living with Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm delighted. And maybe we could start off with you telling us a little bit about you and about what your creative life looks like.
You know, it's funny. I don't actually make a distinction between my creative life and my life.
I hear you on that.
Right? And sometimes people ask me like, oh, now that I have this business, like, am I sad that I don't do as much acting, or am I sad that I don't have as much time for my own creative projects? And I so closely perceive all of it as creative. Like, it's even the marketing, even the bookkeeping, like having a business is the best art project of all time.
Sam, I got to ask you about that. Did that surprise you?
Yeah. Yeah, it shocked the bananas out of me. I had no idea. And in fact, and it's made having a business so much fun. I mean, I think there's something about the world of business that it's like business turned to creative people and said, oh, you guys wouldn't like it over here at Super Businessy. And you all went, oh, okay, it must be really boring. But the fact of the matter is, there aren't any rules, especially around creative entrepreneurship. Like, you can do it however you want. And if it works and makes money, then yay, you win. And yeah, it's the, you know, I mean, I always loved acting because it felt like it engaged all of me.
Right.
You know, it involved who I was physically and intellectually and emotionally and psychically and spiritually and sexually, and like every part of me was plugged in when I was acting. And honestly, entrepreneurship feels the same way to me. Like, it uses all of me. And I remember part of what was so hard about having a day job, even the really good jobs that I had, was I always felt like I was leaving half of myself at home.
Right. So how did you find your way from acting to entrepreneurship?
Completely sideways.
And it almost feels like it would have to be.
and kind of unintentionally. Yeah, so I was working full-time as an actor in Chicago and then in Los Angeles. And so my life was just this endless jumble of jobs and gigs and shows and projects and rehearsals and auditions and part-time this and full-time this and semi-time that. And I was working all the time. It was creatively very satisfying, financially disastrous. And along the way, I just got super interested in this question of, how do creative people make decisions? How do you know what project to pick? How do you know even what career to pick when you're good at a million things, which frankly, most creative people are?
Right.
You know, how do you move forward when there's no quarterly review on how your novel is going, you know, or stick with it at the end when it looks like it might really be real and you're totally freaked out? Like, how do you handle all this? And I kept buying books and reading books and taking classes. And there's some great information out there about how to set your schedule and set better goals and make more money. And, you know, it's all terrific, but creative people don't care who's moved their cheese. Right? Like,
Right.
That's not us. And there are a lot of great creativity books out there, but a lot of them are about, you know, spiritual healing through creativity or how to unleash your inner creative. And it's like, no, I'm unleashed.
Right.
The leash is not the problem. So I just started to create it. So I just created the Get It Done workshop, you know, started with like 12 people in a church basement. And it's just a ton of inquiry, you know, it's a lot of exercises and questions and imagination games and sort of ways to look at things and break through maybe some of your habituated thinking. Because it's not like I've got some amazing system and everybody should do things my way. It's more like I've got some amazing tools to help you figure out what your amazing system is.
Right.
What's going to work for you. Because once you're leaning into your own natural creative flow, it gets so much easier.
You know, it's funny, that really takes me to your book, Start Right Where You Are, because one of the things I noticed about it is the structure. So it's structured in these sort of wonderful, simple, practical, and real for creative people chapters.
And super short, like a page or two.
Yeah. And so that sort of sense of, here's a small step, but also here's a small step that you can personalize to you, you know, that opens up the door to you finding your way with this little step up.
Exactly. Yeah, because your own way of looking at the world, your perspective, your own wackadoodle way of doing things, like, that's it. That's your genius. That's your art. That thing you got criticized for when you were a kid.
Yeah.
You know, being too dreamy or too melodramatic or too emotional or too big or too showy or too shy or whatever that is, like, that's your gold.
What was that for you, Sam?
Definitely too sensitive. Way too sensitive. And it was a big moment for me when I realized that actually you could take away the intensifier. I'm not too sensitive. I'm just sensitive.
Right.
And I might have been too sensitive for my mom. I might have been too sensitive for the third grade.
Right.
But I'm not too sensitive for the planet. And now I have a job where I get to be professionally sensitive.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can just hear how healing it must be for people listening too, to take away that word too.
Mm.
So powerful. I was also struck by something you said earlier that got my ears sort of perked up, because I know this is something that a lot of people who are listening struggle with, and that was, how do creative people make decisions? So
Mm.
I'm so curious what you've discovered about that.
Well, there's a lot of distraction. It's really easy to get pulled off, and again, school, I think school plays a little game with us by sort of, there is a right way in school. There is a right answer. And the way you succeed in school is by knowing the answers in advance.
Mm.
You know the questions in advance and you know the answers in advance. That's how you do well on tests in school. But the creative process isn't like that. Life isn't like that. Falling in love isn't like that. A lot of things aren't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we try to apply the one to the other. So, people say, well, I want to write a book, but I don't know how. I want to start a business. I don't know how. Like, well, sweetheart, of course you don't know how. How could you possibly know how? You've never done it before. And even if you know how other people have done it before, that's still going to be different than how you do it. So the only thing to do is to make the decision that's in front of you. Like, I think I'm going to try this for 15 minutes a day. Or I think I'm going to experiment with this summer. And then you get into what I call the sparkly breadcrumb stage, which is, we've all had that happen, right? You decide, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to go to Italy. I think I'm going to look into going back to school. I think you have this idea, and then things start appearing. Things have energy. Things sparkle at you, and you go over here. And the thing that I think is super important is, like, notice where the sparkly breadcrumbs are, take a couple of steps, and really notice how you feel as you're taking the steps. Because sometimes we make a decision or have an idea and we take a couple of steps, and, it's a lot of knees and elbows. It's a lot of miscommunication. The timing's not right. It's way more expensive than you thought. Like, it's just, it's not a good time. And that's great information to go, like, okay, not a good time. This is not it. Maybe not never, but not today.
Right.
Other times, and I know you've had this experience, where you take a couple of steps and it's like the universe comes rushing at you. Things just get delivered on a silver flippin' platter. It's amazing. But it doesn't happen until you decide, until you start walking.
Yes, absolutely. It's funny. I just had that experience recently where my husband and I decided to rekindle a dream that I had decided was impossible, which was to try to get our dream house. And literally that week, this is just for me exactly a breadcrumb. That week, a posting went up online for a house that ticked off like 95% of our boxes. And they are so tough, we'd given up years ago. And so it wasn't the time, but I knew, I was like, see, we just opened it up and suddenly there's that sign that at least it is possible.
That's right. That's right. And noticing the strength of your own desire.
Yes.
Because this is, often people give themselves a really hard time for procrastinating. Oh, I'm such a procrastinator. Oh, I'm such a procrastinator. And, maybe you are. Not saying, but sometimes it just hasn't been the right time. It just hasn't been the right time for whatever reason. You're not spiritually mature enough. The technology doesn't exist. You need a partner, or there's just some planetary spin that hasn't happened yet.
There's all these things that you're saying that for me have that kind of dang it response, which is like, there is no 10-step program that works just for you. Dang it. It may just not be the right time. Dang it.
True. I know. It would be so great to get things a little more definitive, wouldn't it?
But it's not the way we roll, right? As creatives, it's like there's a way that's not actually, that we don't actually wish that we want the freedom of the unknown.
For real. And I got to say, I've worked with thousands of artists over the years, and some of my super high, private clients who pay me big money. They have to do what I say because they're paying me so much. And but and then everybody's all like, I need a blueprint. I just need a roadmap. I just need someone to tell me what to do. And I'm like, oh, BS. If I gave you a roadmap, you would immediately flip it over and start doodling on the other side. Like, don't give me this. And again, there just isn't one. There's conventional wisdom. And we need to be very careful about conventional wisdom because conventional wisdom works for conventional people doing conventional things.
Right.
So it's great for the conventional things in your life. How often to get your oil changed in your car?
Right.
Yes, you should obey conventional wisdom around that. But again, how do you, lead a creatively expressed life? How do you be a great parent? How do you be a great partner? How do you call your best and highest creative self forward? That's not conventional.
Right.
And it's not going to happen in a conventional way.
So for you in your unique creative life, what's been your greatest challenge and how did you get through it?
Well, one of the challenges I'm looking at right now is this tendency that I have, and I think a lot of creative people have, which is that I get an idea for something. I'm pretty good about executing my ideas. I don't generally get too bogged down. But then once it's done, I'm kind of over it.
Right.
In fact, I once found an entire book that I had written that I had totally forgotten about.
Right.
I'd totally forgotten I had written this book. So as a business owner, I've got a lot of assets. I've got a lot of, courses and books and the things that I've created that could be out in the world making money for me and helping the world be a better place. But because I've moved on to something else, they're just kind of languishing on the shelf. So one of the things I'm looking at now is how can I build a better team so that other people can be, I'm never going to make myself be interested in something I'm not interested in. This isn't a willpower issue, right?
Right.
But how can I create a structure so that somebody else can pick that up once I've set it down?
I so agree with this. Yeah. It makes me think of one of the other things I had wanted to talk to you about. So in that sort of bringing in others to be a part of the action. In your book, there's a few chapters that address this idea of needing tribe. And I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit, because I think so many of the people who are listening to the show, part of the reason they listen is to hear other voices, other creative spirits, so they can feel energetically like a part of that tribe. But they may have a hard time finding those people, in their neighborhood or in their city or in their day job. So how would you suggest people start connecting with and finding their tribe?
Oh, that's such a good question. And it's such a complicated little issue, I think, because, we were the weird kids. I was the weird kid in my family. I was the weird kid at school. And I grew up in a very, in the city, in an urban environment. I mean, there were a lot of weird kids and there was a lot of art and culture around. But still, I was weird and it was lonely. And like a lot of creative people, I think there's been a little bit of a collapse inside of my mind in between that which makes me weird and that which makes me special.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't want to give up the one because we're afraid it means we're going to give up the other.
Right.
Right. So there's something kind of precious about feeling so misunderstood, about feeling alone, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We kind of make a little precious baby out of it.
Yeah, I'm even thinking back to what you were saying about business and creatives, and we got the message that business wasn't cool, but there's also a way we made it uncool. It's we're not like those people.
Exactly.
We don't concern ourselves with that kind of thing.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Because we do the same thing around money, right? Oh, I'm not interested in money. I don't need money.
Right. I'm not going to compromise. Yeah, absolutely.
Why not be in it for the money? The money's the best part, practically. Not the best part, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So I just want to point that out as a point of meditation, as a point of inquiry for people. Right. Where am I keeping myself separate or hanging on to self-limiting beliefs, in part because they kind of feel good in a weird way. But otherwise, yes, you have to find a tribe. You have to find, your family and friends do not understand what you do or why. And that's fine. They are not in your life to understand what you do or why. In the same way, you don't really understand what they do or why. But you need people in your life who do get it. And they're absolutely out there. And keep looking. And this is, I think, why God made the intertubes, is because you can find them. It's so much easier to find people now that we can connect online, now that we can have conversations, global conversations.
Absolutely.
Social media. There's just so many people out there. And And in some ways, I feel like it's giving birth to a whole new, not just a whole new world, but a whole new economy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're creating things out of just your own mind, right? Your creativity is an endless and endlessly renewable resource. And when it flows out to an endless number of people, an endless number of ideal clients, an endless number of fans, an endless amount of money, well, when infinite abundance meets infinite abundance, there's no competition. There's no rush. There's no need to be grabby or weird, you know, or standoffish. Like, we're not making money off exploiting the resources of the planet. We're not making money off the backs of slave labor or cheap labor.
It's an amazingly different perspective than the kind of scarcity mentality that a lot of us work from.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's never been a better time to be a maker of things.
Mm. In that spirit, you know, when you look back on your creative life, if you could go back many years, sort of at that point where you were just, I know your book starts out in a place where you were feeling exhausted and broke and not great. What do you wish you knew then that you know now?
I wish I'd had a better relationship with money, like that it was okay to have some.
Right.
I wish, you know, I gave a lot to, I have a tendency to be loyal and forgiving, often to the point of self-neglect or self-abuse. And I stayed involved with a lot of organizations and a lot of jobs and a lot of relationships, probably a lot longer than was really healthy for anybody. So I wish I'd had a better sense of self-preservation. Maybe that's really the money part too, is I wish I'd had a better sense of self-preservation.
You know, I'm so curious, what took you from that place of, you know, it's not okay to earn money to money's practically the best part of this? That's quite a turnaround.
Yeah, I got some really good coaching. That's really what I did, is I realized that I was never going to do better than barely making enough money, but not quite, if I didn't change my relationship with money and the way I was thinking about it. So I got into a super high-end coaching program that was just unbelievably expensive. I mean, my little Midwestern girl self was like, I'm sorry, we're paying what for what now? And I didn't have it, you know, I didn't, there was no budget. There was no, like, it wasn't like I had some fund or something, but I knew I needed it. I knew I needed the coaching and the training, and I knew I needed to be around other people who were getting that same coaching and training, who had that same, you know, growth mindset.
Right.
And it was really galvanizing. I don't think I had ever done anything that expressed to my deep inner self how seriously I was taking this. I never invested in myself in that way. And the moment that I said, yes, I'm worth it. My business is worth it. The people that I serve are worth it. I will make this work. And that's what I mean by decision making, right? Once you make that decision, it's done.
Right.
It's done. And that's how I turned the corner.
It's interesting. It really energetically, it feels very similar to me to how you describe the acting and entrepreneurship. Like there's a way of being all in.
100%. And I'll tell you, a lifetime in the theater does amazing things to prepare you for entrepreneurship. If nothing else, just that sense of the show must go on. Like, you know, you said, and you know how this is doing interviews. It's like the tech goes crazy and the person doesn't show up and the dog's legs fall off and like everything goes wrong. Everything goes wrong always.
Yes.
And yet we make sure it happens.
Yes. And it's kind of a wonderful experience of everything can go wrong, and that doesn't preclude magic happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And really understanding, you know, that very dynamic relationship between being relentless in the pursuit of your goal and surrendering to the fact that projects have their own time and things happen in the way they're going to happen. And, you know, like both of these things are true at the same time. And you kind of got to surf the energy between being a complete hard ass about it and being completely surrendered about it.
Yes. I'm laughing at the familiarity of that. I so get you. So where can people come and find you?
Probably the easiest way is to come to startrightwhereyouare.com. That's the site for the book, and it's got a great little opt-in there. There's a great freebie that's my procrastination domination starter kit.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's super helpful, especially that how do we make decisions, like that how to decide which of your 137 projects would be good for you right now. It's got that exercise and people really, really love it. And then another one having to do with compliments and criticisms. Mm. So that's the best. Otherwise, you can come to The Organized Artist Company, all the way spelled out, because I'm a spell it all out for you kind of a girl. So there's theorganizedartistcompany.com, and that's got everything else.
Great. And of course, we will have all the links to you in the podcast and the podcast post. So thank you so much, Sam, for being here, for sharing your perspective. And I love how both complex and practical it is. So I really appreciate all you have to share.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. What a fun talk.
Yay. Sam and I talked about things in our lives like doing theater or being an entrepreneur that engage all that we are. This week, I want to invite you to think about times in your life when you were all in, when your heart, your mind, your soul, your body were activated and alive. What were you doing? What would it be like to activate a bit of that energy in your life right now? Does that appeal? If so, how can you get a little taste of that? If not, why not? One of the powerful strategies for living a creative life is being self-reflective, paying attention to the constants and also the ever-changing dynamics of your inner life. And with that knowing, creating a magic that only you can bring to life in this world. And I hope you'll get on that. Something else that I hope that you'll do is support this show. It means so much when you stop by iTunes and leave us a great review or a 5-star rating, or when you share the podcast with a friend. It is such a wonderful way of bringing together our creative hearts into a powerful, magical tribe. Thank you so much for being here. I love spending this time with you. I truly cherish you. Have a great week, everybody.